Thank you very much for being here. I am Daniel Ikwenobe. I'm the CEO of an organization called Elevate Africa, and I'll be the moderator for this session. We are thrilled that each of you have been able to make it here. So just for us to kick off, I'm happy to introduce our panelists. So I will basically just call their names, and I'll just give a brief intro for them. The first on our list is Honorable Professor Adolf Faustin Mkenda. He's the Honorable Minister of Education, Science and Technology for United Republic of Tanzania. Yes, please. Yes, please. While he walks up, I'll give a quick profile. A seasoned academic and policy maker. Honorable Mkenda leads Tanzania's education transformation effort with a focus on access, STEM, and technology integration. Formerly Minister of Agriculture and a respected economist. He is spearheading national reforms to align education with global economic demands, promoting innovation, digital literacy, workforce readiness for the 21st century economy. So you're welcome, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Put your hands together again for him. Our host minister is next. He's a visionary leader in digital and inclusive education. Honorable Nsengimana brings extensive experience from the MasterCard Foundation and Intel Corporations, where he led innovation in ICT and diversity policy. As minister, he is driving Rwanda's agenda for AI-enabled learning, teaching, training, and digital infrastructure, positioning the country as a continental leader in tech-driven education systems. So please help me welcome Honorable Joseph Nsengimana. Our host. Okay. I like the mood. Next is Rodwell Mangisi, Director, Digital Economy, Pan-African Program, MasterCard Foundation. Rodwell is a technology leader with over 15 years in Africa and Europe across Deloitte, General Electric, and now the MasterCard Foundation. All right. So we have, and I hope you keep that on. Now we have Isabel Neto. Can we have that again? Hey, good. Practice Manager, Digital Development, Eastern and Southern Africa at the World Bank. Isabella leads a $3 billion portfolio on digital infrastructure, AI adoption, and skill development across multiple African countries. You're welcome, Isabella. We have with us Wei Liang, who is the Vice President for China Academy of Information and Communications Technology. Please keep the energy on. You started it, you have to keep it on. Come on. Is a senior Chinese AI strategist and policy architect. Wei Liang plays a central role in shaping China's national and global AI framework. You're welcome. Good. And last and not the least, we have Emre Varol, who is the founder and CEO of Africa to Silicon Valley. Emre, thank you, you're welcome. Fantastic. Now we have our distinguished panelists. So, allow me to just quickly set a bit of the context here. By 2050, Africa's working age population will almost double, accounting for 85% of the increase in the global workforce. That is not a statistic. That is a seismic opportunity. AI is transforming work as we know it, and the global economy is not waiting. If Africa is to lead in this new age, we must build the bridges between population growth, skills development, and global competitiveness. Now, this is the conversation we'll be having here this morning. And we have this distinguished panelist who will be speaking to that. And so we'll have a few rounds of questions, and then you'll be allowed to ask your question. 2 or 3 will take from the audience, and hopefully we'll come up with some inspiring perspectives that will help us. All right, so let me start my first question with Professor Adolf Mkenda. Tanzania has pushed hard on policy-led education reforms and digital transformation. What is your vision for national strategies that will prepare Tanzania and African youth, not just for today's economy, but for the AI-driven economy and tomorrow? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Daniel. First of all, let me appreciate and thank Rwanda for the hospitality and congratulate Rwanda for the leadership in this area. Indeed, we are embarking on major education reform in Tanzania. And 3 factors are driving that reforms. First of all, the demographic dynamics, as you alluded, the population growth, and the challenging of aligning education, skills, and training, and job opportunities. Secondly, globalization. That is increasing rapidly, irrespective of what happens a couple of days ago, that bring countries together, the economies are linked, and so on. And thirdly, the explosion of technological development. That includes digital development, the IE development, and so on. And therefore, the reforms that we're undertaking in Tanzania actually focuses on both quality, relevance, and skills in order to be able to cope with these 3 factors that are taking place. Now, with respect to explosion of technology, we see the opportunities and potential challenges at the same time to be able to make use of digital development across the world, both as instrument of teaching, but also for us to catch up with production of similar knowledges. And within it, embedded is artificial intelligence that is growing up, is catching up, and it is becoming actually adopted by students in classroom and so on. Now, what do we do in Tanzania in order to be able to address those 3 areas? First of all, we are reforming or reorganizing the education overall. Instead of having 7 years of compulsory education, we are moving to 10 years of compulsory education. And then we are going to have 2 streams of secondary education, one which will be general education, and the other one will be skills-intensive, vocational kind of education. We are reintroducing polytechnics as part of high schools for those who follow the stream of skills-intensive, particularly in issues of technical knowledge, the digital economy, ICT in general. That's number 1. Number 2, we have national strategy for the digital education, and within the also policy that drives the reforms, we have issues of technology, digital education, and AI. For instance, we have introduced in our curriculum now coding embedded in our education curriculum from primary education going forward. We increased the teaching of computer sciences in schools, and as I said, we're going to build about 5 polytechnics in Tanzania that will receive students who will follow skills-intensive technical education, who want to go to high school for 3 years, get a diploma and high school certificate, and mostly will be focusing on digital knowledge and also issues of ICT in general. But more than that, we, as in Tanzania, we have decided to host Indian Institute of Technology in Tanzania. We had discussion with them. We established a campus in Tanzania on condition that the degrees they will offer will have to be the degree of Indian Institute of Technology, approved by their Senate. But the main focus will be on digital knowledge and the ICT. The campus is in Zanzibar. It admits students from across Africa. We also have Nelson Mandela Institute of Science and Technology in Arusha. Actually, the institution is supposed to be Pan-Africanist. The idea of Nelson Mandela Institute was to have a campus in Arusha, one in Nigeria, one in South Africa. And also, this is a graduate university that focuses on technology, ICT, and science and technology in general. We are focusing within the reforms on issues of STEM to promote them by offering specialized scholarship now for high school students who want to move on to ICT, to mathematics and natural sciences, engineering and medical sciences. But moreover, I can see you are looking at me all the time. We have, this year, we're going to introduce a new scholarship, 5 billion Tanzanian shillings, to send high school students overseas for training in areas where they can both train at the university for first degree, but at the same time will have an opportunity to be able to work with companies, places like Dublin and universities near Silicon Valley. And we are actually looking for partnership, those who can match the fund so that we can increase the numbers. Those who will finish high school, will keep them in Tanzania for 1 year, give them proper orientation, and then they will get a scholarship. We are starting discussions with universities in Ireland and other areas where you have multinational companies or technology to make sure that our students, when they go there for degree, they can also be able to move between universities and also gain skills through companies that are dealing with technology.
Thank you so much. Yeah. No, this is very enlightening, and it speaks to the point around the new form of education. Like you mentioned the issue of coding being incorporated into our curriculum. Isabella, from your vantage point, managing digital development across Eastern and Southern Africa, where are your biggest gaps in aligning digital infrastructure with AI-ready skills, and how can partnerships best address them?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's really a pleasure, and to see all the energy in the room. Look, I think I would be preaching to the converted, but I think we all see the opportunities, right? We all see how this is so important. I think you said it yourself. We have so many people and young people entering the workforce, specifically in Africa. You have one of the youngest populations, and over the next 10 years, I think development economies will be putting 1.2 billion young people into the market. So it's no longer just, I mean, you need to do this, right? This is really fundamental for economic growth. It's not an option. And then we're also really seeing on how AI is shaping labor markets. And what our research is showing is that it's really important to see how you have governments, private sector, and then also development partners working together. And so we come to the gaps, right? You were asking me, what are some of the gaps in putting together these initiatives? And so we actually see there's several gaps, but maybe to talk about two of them. One of them, really the fact that there's sometimes this mismatch between skills and where you have the infrastructure. So for example, you may have, and we are seeing this in specific countries, we see these digital skills initiatives really accelerating and taking hold and being quite successful, but then sometimes that happens in places where the people that are being trained do not have access to the infrastructure or to the computing capacity, or sometimes even just the basic devices. So that then it's difficult for them to go from having the skills to actually go to job opportunities. And then a related challenge, apart from the geographical location, is that sometimes you have some of these things being done in silos. So that, for example, if you look at innovation, policy, skills development, AI hubs, and so on, sometimes these kind of operate in silos, which means that the strategies are not coordinated. So again, what happens as a result is that sometimes you have talented individuals that are trained, but then there's not really the pathways to get them to employment. So I think what Minister from Tanzania is saying is very important, because you need to really be looking much more at these partnerships, right? Where you have, for example, development partners supporting governments to, for example, to create good policies that integrate all of these, that connect these initiatives to job opportunities directly, while at the same time the private sector may be also co-investing on tech hubs and so on. So it's really about having an idea of all these things that need to be there, but making sure they're actually working together and they're integrated. And sometimes that's one of the challenges, because that's not something we tend to do very well, including us.
Beautiful point around partnerships, extremely important. Let me go quickly to Ronwell. Yeah. Your experience across sectors and the region, just to piggyback on what has been said already, what scalable models are truly succeeding at closing the digital and AI skills divide? Now, I'll put this in context, especially for marginalized and underserved groups across the continent.
Thank you, Daniel, and it's a pleasure to be here as well. So look, I think Isabel has mentioned that in Africa, right, 11 million young people go into the labor force every single year. So we have a huge population. We're calling it our youth dividend. But what we are seeing, though, is the models that are scalable for us to make sure that we are able to support each and every one of these young people is hybrid learning models. If you look at in Senegal, you've got the virtual university. We have seen the models like ALX across Africa, where you've and most of these you find that they're hybrid. You've got online and in-person training that is offered to young people at scale. Because if you've got 11 million young people coming into the labor force, you just heard about skills mismatch. Most of them, they want to be upskilled, they want to be reskilled. But if you were to, brick and mortar will constrain you. But if you start looking at these hybrid models, then all of a sudden you can reach scale. And then to your point, in terms of reaching marginalized people, maybe let me focus more even on people living with disabilities. It's not a model per se, but since we're discussing AI here, what we are seeing with some of the ventures that we are working on is what AI can do in terms of bridging that gap in access to skills and education for people who previously did not have access to this. I'll give you an example. We have Deaf Can Talk venture, from Ghana. What they are doing is, using an app, someone with hearing impairment, they go into the same classroom, right, as someone without the same impairment, and they're able, this transcribe the notes for them. So all of a sudden, children, we used to go, I think growing up in Zimbabwe, we used to call it, like a special school, right? But now all of a sudden they can go and get the same quality education with every single child. And this kind of solutions for me, all of a sudden you're getting people who would typically be marginalized being able to access quality education. And one of the young people who's been using the Deaf Can Talk app, he actually won a robotics competition, right? Being able to learn by using this app. So I see those kinds of solutions being important and very critical for us to ensure that education is accessible to everyone. And also I think we need to always look at our own context, right, on the continent. One of our biggest challenges is the teacher to student ratio as well. And what we have seen and what we have some solutions as well that we are seeing that are helping with the challenge of teachers being able to reach more students is if you look at a teacher's work, most of their day, the two things that take most of their time is planning and grading. But now with AI, most of those things that are mundane and repetitive, they can be automated, and all of a sudden you've got teachers being able to do what we want them to do best, which is offer personalized and quality training to our young people. So I think, in a nutshell, those kind of examples would help us to ensure that education is accessible to people who are typically marginalized. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Rodwell. And so in terms of, as we look towards jobs, skills, and talent mobility, we've spoken to reforms. We've talked about solutions and meet the gaps that you spoke to, and you've talked about scale, and of course some use cases you have clearly mentioned. I would like to go to Honorable Minister for Rwanda, Minister Joseph Nsengimana. So Rwanda has positioned itself very strongly as a leader in tech-enabled education, and you're clearly an example. As AI becomes more integrated into learning systems, how can we ensure that it promotes critical thinking and local innovation rather than fostering intellectual dependence or external reliance?
Thank you very much, Daniel. And let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to Rwanda. Hope you're having a good time and enjoying the conversation as I am. Thank you for that question. I think you're right. Rwanda has decided that technology is going to be part and parcel to everything we do, including education. I think it all starts with a vision. There has to be a vision. It has to be intentional. And you have to really be purposefully looking for it and actually implementing it. So for us, when we look at the 21st century we live in, it is evident that you cannot circumvent technology in everything we do, in the way we live, where we learn, and where we entertain, in all. So it was imperative that we find ways to tap into the technology in order to increase learning outcome. The Honorable Minister from Tanzania mentioned the fact that they are now incorporating, coding and programming into the curriculum. We've done the same. We actually have currently through our schools from primary on, we actually do have programming coding courses. We also have an awareness in the technology, making sure that from the student to the teachers to the parents, there is an increased awareness of technology and what it can do for you and its limits. So if you look at, in general in Rwanda, for instance, we use mobile money quite heavily. It's actually rare that I don't remember the last time I touched a bill, the money, other than using mobile money. And actually, it's not just me, but it's most people in Rwanda are using mobile money. And so if we are using this technology to transact, why can we not use technology to learn? Yeah. And I think if we go back to your question, the answer is actually in the question itself. You said, how can we embed AI in learning? We didn't say replace learning with AI, right? It's we are using AI to learn. So the emphasis is on the learning, not the technology. And I think most of the time we make a mistake to equate learning or education with technology. It's not the same. We have to keep our eyes on the ball. We want to learn. We want to teach our kids to learn. We want to teach our kids to think, to analyze, to communicate. And AI provides a great opportunity to augment what they do, to help them in what they do, but it cannot replace what they do. It can't replace them. And I think that's an emphasis that we have to really place on our discussion here today. So in Rwanda, we're doing that. So we run competitions, AI competition in secondary education, for instance, for our kids to practice and actually develop these models, but with an understanding that they are solving a problem for the community. They are not, in essence, throwing the question to the AI machine and then expect an answer to come out. They are using it. And so this is, I think, when we go with that mindset, we would ensure that we are using technology to better the condition of humankind and not replace our own way of thinking, our own living with the machines.
Thank you so much. This has been quite helpful. I mean, we've talked about reforms, we've talked about gaps, filling the gaps, we've talked about scale, and then integration and embedding AI within our typical learning process. I would like to move over to Wei right now. China has developed one of the most ambitious and skilled AI talent strategies globally, right? From your experience, what practical strategies or framework could Africa countries adapt, particularly in balancing innovation, regulation, and accessibility in AI development? So we would like to say, okay, what are the learnings that we can leverage from your experience?
First, I would like to thank you to have me here. I'm very happy to attend this very successful summit. And thank you for your question and your kind words about China. I would like to share some information in my understanding. I think that's very important. I think first is a long-term plan. And Chinese government have published a new generation AI development plan in 2017. That's 8 years ago. In this document, we lay out the framework, technology, innovation, industry development, and a lot of things. And in recent years, the central and the local government published the AI action plans, and the industry follows this document, and we get a very successful result. And the second, I think, education. By the last year, we have about 500 32 universities provide the undergraduate AI program. And we have about 10,000 graduates every year, and they are powering the AI industry. And we are integrate the AI program in prime and secondary school these days, in education. And third is the infrastructure. In China, we have a very strong infrastructures about the power supply, about the 5G access backbone, cloud computing, and computing power. And this infrastructure can provide a solid foundation for AI talent and for AI talent cultivations. And then I would say the ecosystems. We have CHAPS. We have more than 200 large language models, including the very famous DeepSeek. And we have a lot of companies. These companies cooperate with the universities, they have the internship. And in this internship, we can give the students practical knowledge that can gap their. That's very better for the talent cultivations. And then some policies. In Beijing, in cities like Beijing, Shanghai, we have an incubator system. In this system, we gather the talent, we gather the capital, computing power, startup teams, and give them a lot of consultant and experience. And that's very good for that's very good for the companies. And also, we have international corporations. We joined the international programs, just like yesterday they mentioned the AI for Good and a lot of things. And I think that maybe give some sense. I think maybe Africa country can give some good information about this and using this to get a top level and top-down level design and long-term plan and AI for education, a lot of things. That's my information. Thank you.
Amazing. Please, let's put our hands together. That is a good story. Amazing, amazing. I mean, quite inspiring when you think of the volume, the numbers you are churning out. The question around infrastructure and how that is helping, how you've embedded across board. And so we've looked at, in the conversation now, we've looked at how capacity is being built at the primary level and the secondary level and the university. Now, let's speak to jobs. How do we link this with opportunities? You know, so I will come straight to Emery. And so let's understand, you're building direct bridges between Africa's software talent and top global tech firms. What has worked best in preparing the talent to perform at world-class levels? And how can this model be expanded to strengthen Africa's broader tech and AI ecosystem? So just, you're now layering in on top of all of these things we've talked about. How do we make this happen?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would love to talk about 5 main pillars of education at A2SV. I believe that is the secret behind our success. Number 1, we prioritize depth over breadth. At A2SV, instead of trying to teach so many different skills at the same time, we focus on very few number of key skills, technical as well as soft ones, and our students spend a lot of time on those with hands-on practical experience. Number 2, our focus on soft skills, because soft skills are super important, such as communication, leadership, teamwork, and like any other skills, they need to be learned by practicing. So to get better at public speaking, you need a public to speak. And we create such environments quite often so that our students experience and get better at that. Number 3, we remove the obstacles from the paths of our students. In Africa, having reliable internet connection is a challenge. We provide internet stipends to our students. Sometimes even having resources to get food. For some of our students, this is a challenge. We provide food stipends. This way, we want them to focus on education rather than worrying and wasting brain cycles on taking care of such kind of necessities of life and education. Number 4, as Rodwell mentioned, one of the challenges we are experiencing in classic education system is low teacher-to-student ratio. We need more teachers per student so that we can give personalized attention. In our in-person education, for each group of 30 students, we assign 3 educators. In remote settings, we assign 3 educators for 15 students. And these numbers have come with experience. We talk to our educators, we talk to our students to make sure the program is going to be effective. And when you look at it, even in in-person education, we are capable of assigning 1 teacher per 10 students. It means our teachers are capable of having one-on-ones with their students once every other week. Like when you think about it, this happens in the industry. Pretty much everybody has a manager that they report, they meet together with some frequency, and they get supported. And it is very intuitive to think that doing this at the earlier stages of the careers of our students is very helpful. And lastly, number 5, success breeds success. When I was teaching the first generation of students, after the program, some of them who are currently working at Bloomberg, Google, confessed that, Emre, when you came, when you start teaching us data structures, algorithms, problem solving, communication skills, we thought that you are a nice guy. And these are interesting topics to learn. But frankly speaking, we didn't believe that we could have taken those jobs. So the first generation of our students, they took my words, they followed the path. However, they did not have 100% belief in the situation that they can make it. However, this has become a different story starting the second generation. When they have seen that their peers have achieved this, they have realized that they can do that.
Yeah.
So the mindset change, which is not easy, and which is something that we have achieved, I would say the most tangible outcome that I'm proud of. Because yes, we can make it. Africans can be at the front line of developing cutting-edge technologies.
Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you. Minister Joseph, I'll come back to you. What are specific investments and pilot programs that Rwanda is currently doing that will ensure that Rwanda is competitive in the AI market?
Thank you very much. I think this conference is an example of an investment that the country is making in this space. When we look at the education in general, so we are looking at investing at all levels of education. If you look at the higher education, we have a partnership with Carnegie Mellon University that opened its doors here a little over about 13 years ago. And now we're graduating a master's degree in AI engineering in various areas of technology. And these folks that are graduating, to your point, Emery, they are actually working for these big tech companies. I know when I was at the Intel Corporation, the last year I was there, actually, there was a young lady that was recruited directly from Kigali and went to work in the US as one of those graduates. So we are seeing real example of people who are graduating here in Rwanda and moving on to do big things. We also have a partnership with AIMS, African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, that's established here. They have a master's degree as well as PhD degrees in the sciences, focusing on mathematics sciences. And actually, we recently started talking about a partnership with AIMS to establish a program within our basic education where together we're going to develop AI models that would personalize the support to every single student based on the data we collected ourselves. This is one of the challenges when we talk about AI, is that it tends to be built on data that's outside of Africa. I think Minister Paula mentioned yesterday that African data constitute only 4% of the data that has been analyzed. So it's difficult to actually rely on the models that are built only on that 4% of the data. So this partnership with AIMS that we're exploring is to actually build on the data that we collected ourselves. Because all our kids, we collect the data on our students, and so they would have a history of every child, and we can build a helper or a tutor that is based on personalized data. These are the opportunities that we're using, which is a result of investment that the government has made in higher education around that. We also have our polytechnics. We have about 5 colleges in polytechnics across the country, which are focused on technology and the technical aspect of the work. And so an investment in that space allows us to actually produce qualified people in the areas that we need them in that space. And along that line is that the government has made a decision that within our secondary education, that 60% of our kids would actually go through our TVETs. And this is in line with what we see in Switzerland, for example, where 70% of their kids go through TVET. And the TVET model is different from some other models where TVET is a dead end. But these are actually pathways where you can continue all the way to higher education, but it has the technical aspect that you have those skills. And so these are some examples of what we're making investment directly in our schools to be able to produce the talent that we need to develop our country.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Minister. That has been quite helpful because that gives a clear example of being intentional and taking agency for the future. I will go straight to Rodwell. The question is now, how is MasterCard Foundation helping to bridge the gap between talent development and real employment?
Look, so
Sorry, let me just add this now. Because we're now out of time, let's do it very sharp. So just give the punchy lines and rapid fire. Yeah, go on.
So look, at the MasterCard Foundation, we, as you are aware, we have an ambitious target to enable 30 million dignified and meaningful work for young people by the year 2030. And we believe that we can do this through 2 ways. So it's workforce development and supporting entrepreneurs. So in terms of workforce development, you'll find that most of our programs, we're looking at demand-led skilling, right? The mismatch that we've been discussing here, we need to ensure that the skills that the young people that we're giving them, they can help them transition to work. Because our challenge, sometimes you find that the challenge is not in the skilling, it's in the transitioning to work. So really, we are working on understanding the demand side of where these young people can move to. And then, but the other thing that we cannot forget is most of the continent is informal, right? Is an informal sector. So the question is, how do you help these economically marginalized young people who have got ventures? And we have programs, for example, in Ethiopia, where we're looking at, we've supported alternative scoring models that all of a sudden you have got these ventures getting access to finance because one of the biggest hurdle for them to actually start being productive in the economy, they need access to finance. So that's how we are enabling workforce development and supporting entrepreneurs.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Minister Kemda, the question now is, how is Tanzania working to use policy and reforms to drive AI-ready professionals in your country?
Thank you very much. I have to make it short, so I'll start with one and then focus. First of all, we are promoting innovation, product development, and commercialization. We have set aside funds for that purpose for artificial intelligence products, and I think some of our youth are here at the demonstration. But I want to speak about creating a critical mass of experts in data science and so on and so forth. And also, in order to move fast, you have to admit that you have a long way to go. So we want to look at ourselves as we have a very, very long way to go, and we need to produce more experts in this area as human resources, not only in terms of applying artificial intelligence, but also producing knowledge in that area. That's why I talked about the scholarship. And I want to expand a little bit here because MasterCard is one of the partners we want to approach and talk to them, that the government is setting aside funds, and also EMRI, the arrangement that you have, because what we want to do is to have high school students who finish in areas that can actually move for first degrees in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, to keep them in 1 year in Tanzania in a polytechnic, to give them orientation, to help them with digital literacy, because we have to admit that this is something we have a shortcoming if we look across all the schools, and then deploy them overseas. We are picking a leaf from countries like China, India, at certain stage of their lives where they had to flood universities abroad with their youth who came back to build their economy. So we are thinking of partnering with partners like here, MasterCard, I think we'll talk about that, so that we'll send these youth to universities where they can also have apprenticeship opportunities to produce a mass. And this will be just a meritocracy. We'll just pick the best, but we know they will come and help us to fuel the development. So that is the end I want to amplify, because that is an end where I want to get partners in this conference who we can work together in this project.
Fantastic. Thank you, Minister. Now that we've heard that and we're talking partnership, you can put your hands together. I mean, come on.
Actually, I wanted to also tell my colleague, Minister from Tanzania, that you're welcome to send some of the students here in Rwanda as well.
Yes.
You know, we don't always have to go to the Western world. We do have really good, strong institutions across Africa that we can tap into. And then together we can strengthen those institutions to actually raise the quality within.
Actually, if I may intervene, because this is the second time I came, you hosted me last year, and I always want to spend some time to visit institutions here in Kigali. You are doing a fantastic job, Rwanda, in this area. So we'll want to send more students here, for sure, because we want to have critical mass. And so it cannot just be Dublin or Stanford and so on. We can use opportunities available in Africa. On our part, also, we have Mbeya University of Science and Technology. We have that is a Nelson Mandela Institute of Science and Technology in Africa that is based in Arusha. Indian Institute of Technology, that is actually a campus that draws students not only from Africa, I noted that from Asia and so on are coming there. So we welcome people to come.
Absolutely.
An exchange like this will help us not only to build Pan-Africanism, but also to learn from each other. So I will be very happy to send students to Kigali.
Thank you.
I'm loving this. So the two ministers have ushered us into another conversation on partnerships. So I'm going to come back to Isabella. You've heard the ministers talk on partnership. So partnership is key. What would partnership look like when you think of government, private sector development partners, particularly as we're looking towards AI development for professionals in the continent? What should be the structure, the framework for that kind of partnership? What would it look like?
Yeah. So I think that's a super important question. And to me, even to start with, it needs to be about a partnership where there's really country ownership and shared incentives, right? Otherwise, it's not going to work. If it's not something that, let's say, a particular country really feels it matches their needs and so on, it's not going to work. It cannot be kind of a copy-paste that comes, right? But then really there's different roles. I mean, governments clearly have this role in looking at the foundational education and all the initiatives that the honorable ministers have been talking about, but also setting this vision and just even making sure that whatever is being done actually matches the actual problems in the country, right? That it's not just about tech trends, right? This is not about technology, as you were saying, but it's about what kind of opportunities we want to provide, but also what are the kind of development issues that we may want to solve. And then I think institutions, international organizations, partners like the World Bank, but many others, I think our role is also really a bit, obviously a bit different. I think there's obviously a role about financing, where we can be providing catalytic financing and taking innovations and programs that government has to scale them up, give them scale. And I can think of, for example, the program that we have here in Rwanda, that has just been launched, where we're giving grants to entrepreneurs for them to be able to scale, right? I think there's also a big role in just establish what we sometimes call South-to-South learning, right? And I think what we've just heard here is fantastic. And it's something that I'm seeing more and more. I mean, we just had 2 weeks ago our Global Digital Summit in Washington, and it was so inspiring to see countries talking to each other, sharing the experiences, but let alone our Washington conference. We're seeing, we have a project in Malawi, they're here in Rwanda this week to visit. We have projects in other countries that we're taking to Ethiopia that is working on digital ID and innovations about it. So really establishing those links, I think, is so important, because there's so much going on already. And so we're planning also a digital academy for policymakers, a use case repository, an AI4D lab, where we can precisely maybe help facilitate some of these exchanges so that countries do have access to already has happened already. And then, of course, private sector, it's about the technology, the linking these talent pipelines to job opportunities, and being able to provide, very specifically, let's say offering tools, computing credits, and it's, when you put all of that together, I think it's quite powerful. And maybe just one last point, because I know we need to be short. I think there's so much going on already, right? And where you link these regional tech hubs with global companies, with local institutions. And so maybe it's also about, again, learning from each other. I mean, because I think there are several examples already, but can we maybe learn more about the actual models that are helping and then scale them up rather than... so I think it's good to have different models, but then let's also learn from them and see how this can be scaled up in a different way. Because that's where maybe we can accelerate. And it is fantastic to see so much willingness to work together and make it happen, right?
Amazing. Thank you, Isabella. That's beautiful. I'm going to band the last 2 questions together before we open it up to our audience. Both Wei and Emery. So one, I'll look at how do we... International cooperation. How can Africa take advantage of established AI ecosystems like China? If you can just speak to that, very quickly, and then you pass it on to Emery, quickly, so that you then talk about your experience with A2SV and how tech hubs within the continent can be scaled up, and we can get more impact, with the tech hubs, right? Just speaking to that ecosystem as well. So let me run with you.
I will be short. I think the first is differentiate development. That means I think maybe every country do not need to develop a large language model from zero. They can use the data and the scenarios such as in healthcare, in agriculture, and some areas, and data and scenario, and then fine-tune the open source language model. I would like to suggest DeepSeek. It's based on MIT protocol. That's very kind of protocol. You can use it everywhere. If you set up locally, you do not need to worry about the security, privacy, everything, and it's all free. And also, I would like to say that maybe we can have some incubator system to attract the Chinese team to use this scenario data and do some fine-tune. Then you can get a language model about Africa language and Africa culture. And the second thing, very briefly, is make good use of the existing cooperation mechanism. Last year, in Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed the establishment of China-Africa Digital Technology Cooperation Center. In the outcome document, we find that China-Africa will jointly train about 1,000 digital talents. And a lot of these things, we can use the existing corporations. That's all. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. So, Emery.
I'll keep it short. And I want to make it clear that to get the best out of the efforts, universities and tech hubs, they shouldn't see each other as parallel tracks. Universities need to have industrial objectives and outcomes. It is the place where we have the higher education taking place. Universities need to produce entrepreneurs, need to produce tech leaders, and we need to take a look at these outcomes so that they are going to start producing results. Likewise, the tech hubs shouldn't only feel responsible for industry outcomes, but they need to have efforts in education. Because the technology trends are changing very fast. So that's one of the powers we have at A2SV, because we are a non-profit tech academy and incubator. So we do education, and we also build digital products. And the trends are changing. Generative AI is changing the way we do things in every sector. And it's easy for us to embed, because we have to use it for education as well as incubation.
Fantastic. That's a great place to end the session. But before we close, I think we'd like to hear from the audience. Please just go straight to the question. Let me take 2 questions. I have one here, and then I have one on that side. If you can keep it sharp, the lady in front.
Hello.
So,
my name is Michael from Certified Tanzania Company. We are developing Swahili LLMs. And I have one question about the panel. So we are African entrepreneurs. We are trying to make solution. How our government or they're going to trust African entrepreneur compared to Western? Because now if I'm going to sell my LLMs, some people prefer more Western or Chinese, now DeepSeek, but none of us care about okay. How do you get GPU? That's the first question everyone asks you. Like, how do you get GPU? We use our own money to buy GPUs. We collaborate with university, but still, we don't get the support from. If no one buys our product, every of this will be, I guess, nothing.
okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Let me take the other one quickly. Yes.
Right?
Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, microphone.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is, right now there's like concentrated conversation around the integration of AI, but we're talking about it from the university perspective. Let's remember that, for example, wristwatches were just wristwatches until people started thinking of how do we integrate health trackers in wristwatches. And specifically, I want to know what's Africa doing towards understanding how vocational studies could also learn how to use or integrate AIs. For example, agriculturists profiling an AI solution to an agricultural, problem is different from when someone that just did machine learning in school is doing it. So how exactly is Africa, profiling the solution? Thank you.
Thank you. The last question.
Okay, my name is Bettina, and my organization, what we do basically is to simplify tech, to allow children understand that when it comes to tech, it doesn't have to be like the big guys, the big programming. As simple as graphic designing, it's already a basic tech skill. So my question now is, how can we scale community-based digital learning to support national or global workforce by simplifying this tech and not making it look like it has to be it has to be from the programming, the AI, as simple, basic tech education, basically. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have 3 questions. Who would like to shoot first?
I can take a bite at it. So I'm going to skip the question from Tanzania for my honorable colleague, the Minister of Tanzania. But I think one of the questions that was asked around the practicality of technology, particularly AI. So when we think about technology, we need to start by thinking, what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? And so if you use an example of agriculture, I have a farm, I need to irrigate, water costs a lot of money. Then I start asking, is there a way I can actually do this in a way that is efficient, that reduces the cost to me about the water? So what if I came up with something that would actually real-time test the water content in the soil and decide whether or not it actually does irrigation? That's starting to get, I can have an AI solution embedded in my irrigation system, where the irrigation system moves, checks the content of the soil, and if it needs water, it releases the water. If it doesn't, it moves on to the next spot. Those are the kind of real solutions that requires then the technology. So you didn't start out with the technology, you started out with the problem. And then you find the ways of addressing that problem using the technology that's at hand. So I think the practicality, that kind of collaboration between the academia and the real-time, the community or the market is what's needed, is that collaboration that is needed. That's how we're going to solve the problems that we face. Otherwise, we would have a lot of theory, but not a lot of practicality in the solution that we do. So I think that's what I would offer. That kind of collaboration between academia and the private sector is going to actually channel this energy into real solutions that actually impact the people.
Amazing, yeah.
Thank you very much. I think I have tackled Tanzanian question very well. Now, let me put a broad statement here. There are two aspects about technology. To be a player in the development of technology and to be consumer and user of technology. And we must do both. We should not just think ourselves as the consumer of technology developed elsewhere and adopt it to our environment. That's why when we are talking about sending people abroad to learn, to be in the forefront, to be in the apprenticeship with big tech companies in order to start to absorb technology and feel more confident in terms of being a key player in development of technology. Now, with respect to the question, and I thank you, Honorable Minister, I just want to highlight in Tanzania, for instance, now we have competition about innovations, and we have incubation system, and we also support product development, and we have specific dedicated fund for commercialization. And the government is committed in our guidelines that once we can commercialize something that we can make use of, we'll take preference to products developed within the country. So we are not just looking for something from outside. After all, most of the product development within the country try to solve problems unique to Tanzania, probably will not be able to get solutions from elsewhere. In terms of vocational education, actually, and I like what I heard from the minister from Rwanda. More or less, we are approaching the same thing, because when you go to secondary school in Tanzania, now you have to choose whether you're going to general education, where you learn computer science and so on and so forth, or you go through vocationalized secondary education. A large component of it is technical education. And there also we try to train, embed technology to be able to use it. Whatever you're going to learn, whether you're going to, you're going to do some kind of engineering work or carpentry or something like that, but we also encourage the use of technology going forward. So it's important. We cannot escape technology right now. We just have to move with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you...
No, I want to take the next question, but it's fine.
You want to take
the other question?
Yes, take the other question.
Yeah. So the young, the lady on that side, I really concur with what she said in terms of, I think when we have these discussions around AI, we can focus on the shiny and the fancy, and we forget the realities that we have on the continent. So if you look at the way that we have designed programs, we have archetypes, right? And we are always trying to say, how do we get beyond the tarmac? If I give you examples to answer straight directly to your question, we have young people. We have started companies, ventures that are really targeting that basic digital literacy, just at least to get our young people on the continent onto the same playing field as everyone else. They've created, like the company I'm talking about, they've created a mobile, almost like lab, right, where they go around to the most marginalized communities, and they're teaching them from basic literacy. And then one of the things I think in Nigeria as well, right, we have a partner. We're seeing that some of the people that we're trying to assist, the literacy level is quite low as well, right? That's a reality of where we are. And then they've developed solutions where they're teaching, these people in their local languages, but using, technology and AI. So that's a very, very valid point that I think it's important that as we discuss AI, we don't widen that digital divide. But it's about being intentional in terms of the interventions that you make as we design programs. Whatever organization you are, intentionality in targeting the most marginalized people. That's very key to addressing the challenges that you have just mentioned. But 100% agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good. So we are out of time. And before we leave, I would just like all the panelists to just, in one sentence, what is that bold action that you are taking to improve, scale the AI talent pipeline in Africa? All right, shoot, I'll go from here.
Oh, in one sentence, okay.
Yes.
Let's go. So from our side, this year, actually, we will be scaling up our AI Digital Academy that provides targeted training for policymakers, but also scaling up support for innovation hubs, where we are doing not just the skills, but also connecting it directly with infrastructure and entrepreneurship, so that you get talent that is not just trained, but it's actually activated.
Fantastic.
So for me, I think where we ended, right, just to continue to design with intentionality for those beyond the tarmac, not to forget those beyond the tarmac.
Amazing.
In education, both learning, teaching, management, improving efficiency, but at the same time, because it's the Ministry of Science, Education, Science and Technology, we are also doing a process of incubation, competition to promote innovation, local innovations, scaling them up, support them, and put aside a fund that will help them to commercialize their products.
Very good.
Okay. And the China BRIC AI Development and Cooperation Center, I'm the vice director. We will launch a series of AI training program in Shanghai. And I hope that we'll get the southern country and aim to enhance African talents' AI skills. I will invite you all to Shanghai, July. Show you a lot of things. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I'm a former machine learning engineer, and at A2SV, we are embedding generative AI from top to the toe. On education end, we teach the skills that they need, and in the incubation end, we embed it in the solutions that we provide in all the digital products.
Minister Joseph.
Thank you. I think I'll echo what my colleagues have said. It's to be intentional in what we do, and then address the issue along the value chain. Infrastructure expansion at schools. We are on track now to have 85% of our schools connected to internet and accessing it. And then in making sure that AI is embedded in everything we're doing through schools. And also increase the education and generation of AI talent at the university level.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, audience, for the wonderful time we've had here. It is clear that what we need here is agency, partnerships, have ideation and piloting, and then look for opportunities for scale. And I'm glad we've had this very, wonderful conversation, and I look forward to interacting after this session. So thank you, everyone. Let's put our hands together for this wonderful panelists. Thank you.